All right, so Frank, this letter that's been going around the internet, looks like you wrote back in September.
Well, basically, I told them that because of circumstances beyond my control, I dropped them as clients because of a breach of trust on their part, because they didn't seem to trust me, what I wanted to do. And what I mean by that, I wanted to go public with this. I wanted to go national public, and I wanted to advertise, we have this little missing boy. We need more eyes and ears to try to find this missing boy. I offered a $20,000 reward, and they did not want me offering the reward. They said that the sheriff didn't want it. They said the sheriff didn't want to go public, and the sheriff never mentioned that to me. And so I started finding little things that they were inconsistent. Their stories didn't jive. One was the timeline, and there was an overemphasis of Jessica stating that she knew the boy was in the campground because she kept looking back. I kept looking back. I kept looking back. And it seemed like this was like an overkill. Why would she keep saying this over and over and over again? She wanted to establish that the boy was in the campground. And this was after they came back from town, and they saw some fish that Isaac and Bob, the grandfather, caught. And so DeOrr says, well, show me where those fish are. Where'd you catch those fish? And so they went off with Jessica, DeOrr, and Isaac went off to the creek where they caught the fish, supposedly, and Jessica kept saying, I kept looking back to make sure the little man was there, kept looking back. And why did she overemphasize that? And that was kind of one of the things. And she couldn't answer my question as to why she kept saying that, why she wanted to establish like an alibi that the boy was there. And some other things that were just inconsistent, and they didn't want to, they just were hiding things, like they weren't coming forth with the truth. They didn't make line. The timeline didn't make sense.
When the news came out earlier this week that the sheriff is naming them as suspects, were you surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. And a lot of reasons for that is because the sheriff's not going to just make wild accusations. They're not going to do anything until they have some evidence. There's always double jeopardy involved, too. So they name them as suspects, and they're not going to make an arrest. And most law enforcement people aren't going to make an arrest until they have the evidence to do so, because of double jeopardy. Because you don't want to make an arrest and then the charges are dismissed with prejudice, so they want to avoid that. So that when they know that they have suspects, they have some good concrete evidence, and they're going to name them as suspects and move them up from persons of interest, and that's what they did in this case.
Why come forward with this information now?
Well, it's because they spread the rumor that they fired me, and that's not true. And I got that from the guy who was making the documentary on missing children. They told me that DeOrr and Jessica told me that they dismissed me, that they fired me.
And it's dated September. That's when you actually sent it to them and mailed it to them.
Correct. That followed up the same date of my email. I sent them an email of the same date, September 25th. Basically, I said the same thing in my email to them.
What do you think happened to DeOrr?
Well, I feel there's one possibility is a scenario is that it's only because of Jessica giving up her custody of her other two kids, and because she didn't really want kids, and when she had DeOrr, that her tubes were tied and for all intents and purposes sterilized, so she could never be reversed. And I believe that because of the laws, Nebraska is an example, and Utah, their adoption laws, as long as even though the father may be on the birth certificate, as long as they were not married, the mother could basically has carte blanche to do what she wants to do as far as adopting out her child. So I think one possibility was the child was adopted out. It was an out-of-state adoption, which was arranged. And as a cover story, so DeOrr wouldn't find out about they staged this possible stranger abduction or prearranged abduction. Or there was a problem where the boy was injured and could be deceased, but I kind of lean towards looking towards life rather than death. So I just feel that there's a possibility that the boy could have been adopted out and didn't want the father to know. And now, because of them being named as suspects, the pressure we put on between the two, so Hopefully one will roll over on the other one. But it just didn't make sense that this boy's missing. And I wanted to see resolution to this case, a favorable resolution. But more time goes by, it doesn't look like it's going to be that way. It could be that there was a homicide.
Did they ever pay you for any of your services?
No, that's another thing, too. They said that they paid me, but they never paid me. There was some missing money. In fact, at the very beginning, when I said I work for, cover my expenses, but I won't charge you for my hourly rate. And then DeOrr says, well, I have a cousin in Utah that has a GoFundMe, and she has $1,900, and we'll see you get some of that. And then a few days later, I found out that $1,900 was missing. And so whoever this person was, this cousin in Utah, had misappropriated the money, used it for their personal use. And then one of the other reasons I dropped the case too, I know that DeOrr was pressuring people to donate money. He was getting money from these folks back in Maryland and these GoFundMe accounts, and then I heard his other missing money, and he was exploiting people, and I just didn't want to be involved with anything where somebody may be exploiting money from other people. It just didn't add up. It didn't make sense to me that they didn't seem like they were like the normal people would be for their son being missing. It seemed like they were concealing something and hiding something, and in their body language too. They wouldn't look, particularly Jessica, not looking in the eye. She always look down, look away. And even when I tried to go eyeball to eyeball with her, when I talked to her, she would look away and not look me straight in the eye and answer my questions.
Well, thank you very much, Frank.